urban search and rescue team.
You're watching BBC News. Let's go live to London. This press conference about that huge tower block fire in West London at Grenfell Tower.
Plan as to how we can make the building safe going forward, to allow my firefighters and the police to work closely together to progress through the building, doing a detailed fingertip search, looking for evidence and looking for identification of people who may have been in the building. Obviously, this will be a very slow and painstaking process. This is a large building. There will be a large amount of building work required internally. We call it internal shoring, where structures will need to be built to ensure the floors are safe. Before we do that, we are going to utilise some specialist dog training teams that we have in conjunction with the Metropolitan Police that will go through the building and the surrounding area looking for any identification of people. They are specially trained dogs and they will be used first of all. The benefit of using those dogs is clearly they are much lighter than people and they can cover a greater area in a very short space of time. So the urban search and rescue dogs will come in first and be followed up by specialist advisors. I anticipate London Fire Brigade will be on scene here for many days to come, working with our partners to ensure that we do the best for the people who are waiting for news of their loved ones. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I think following on from that note, it is about those that are waiting for news of their loved ones. My thoughts, I know the thoughts of all of us are with those who have been so deeply affected from the events over the last 24 hours. Yesterday was a very difficult day. Clearly it was challenging overnight, particularly for colleagues from fire. And today, as you've heard, the work really starts in earnest to ensure that we do the appropriate recovery of everybody from those premises. Sadly, I can confirm that the number of people that have died is now 17. We do believe that that number will sadly increase. And from our colleagues within the health service, there are still a number of people who are receiving treatment in hospital. There are 37 people receiving treatment, of which 17 are still in critical care. Like we explained yesterday, our absolute priority for all of us is about identifying and locating those people that are still missing. It'd be wrong for me to get into numbers that I do not believe are accurate. Our Casualty Bureau number is 0800 0961 233. And if you have reported somebody missing and you now know that they're safe and well, please contact that number so we can identify those that we're still trying to find. My heart goes out to those families that are still trying to find their loved ones. Rest assured, please get in contact with us as the police, and Casualty Bureau and our specialist trained officers will be in touch with you to support you through this. It is going to take a considerable period of time, as we've heard, so we can make the building structurally safe, so we can do our job, do our investigation. We have a large team of specialist detectives who are already investigating this, and our senior detective is Detective Chief Inspector Matt Bonner. He and I will be meeting with colleagues from the Health and Safety Executive later on today to agree how we'll progress the investigation from here on in. But I reiterate again, it is going to be a long and lengthy process. Again, my thanks to the community and the public for their patience which they are showing. I know this is an exceptionally difficult and challenging time. If you have any concerns about anybody, again, please contact the Police Casualty Bureau. I'd like to pay tribute to all of those who have been involved in this incident, from the first responders through to those that are supporting them, the reception centres around this area, the tremendous public support and donations, which I think is a real testament to the community spirit of Londoners. And I think we're going to take a few questions as well, if there are any.
I'm Kurisam Hassan from Bulldog TV. Were the incidents terrorism related or not?
There is nothing to suggest that this is a terrorism related incident. We have not yet formally established what the cause of the fire is. and that's one of our priorities from the investigation, but there is nothing to suggest it's got anything to do with terrorism.
What's the total number of people that have been reported missing?
So, as I explained, it would be wrong of me, it'd be very distressing were I to give a number that I do not believe to be accurate. For example, I do know that one person has been reported 46 times through to our Casualty Bureau that they believe to be missing.
Can I ask the fire commander, when do you actually think that you will be able to get your firefighters back into the building, make the search for what we presume to be the bodies of many people?
So they've been doing that throughout the night with police colleagues. My firefighters have been in there. The building itself, the core of it is structurally sound at the moment, so the firefighters have been going in. They can't progress into the rooms in the flats. So we have identified, the reason the number has gone up is we have identified a number of people who are still in the building. We know there will be more. It's the upper floors that will be more challenging and will need some additional shoring for us to be able to get in there. The size of this building, it could take weeks. I want to be realistic, this is a very long process.
How much of the building can you not access at the moment?
I would say a good half of it in detail.
What's the state of play with the investigation into the cause of the fire? Can you start that while you're still trying to do the things that you're doing at the moment?
The start of the investigation to cause the fire started yesterday morning as soon as the incident happened. I have a specialist fire investigation team who are a very dedicated team. They have been on scene since the initial cause that started the fire, looking at causes. So they get witness testimony from the people who left the building, from the first attending crews. They've been into where we believe the flat of origin was. They've already done some initial investigations that will be ongoing with police colleagues now. So that started right from yesterday.
And where was the flat of origin? Which floor was it on?
I don't want to confirm that at the moment.
So do you have any preliminary idea as to what started the fire?
No, nothing of yet.
Have you identified any other tower blocks similar to this in London or elsewhere across the United Kingdom that could be vulnerable to this sort of thing as well?
So I think you'll be aware from a comment that was put out yesterday following a cross-governmental meeting. You'll be aware that Grenfell Tower was recently refurbished. Other buildings are refurbished like that. Now, it's too early to say whether that has got any immediate bearing on the fire, but there is work which is going through government, through to local authorities and others.
Relatives we've interviewed for the BBC are saying they're very angry, they're clearly very upset because they say there's a complete lack of information from the police. They're having to troll through the hospitals themselves. What is your response to that?
So I can understand how deeply distressing that is. We've put a huge amount of resource into this morning for precisely that reason. It's one of the priorities for us today from the police is to make contact with all of those families. If you haven't had contact already, please contact the Casualty Bureau and somebody, a specialistly trained detective, will be in touch with you to assist you through this.
They say that number is a glorified answer phone. There's no real person here.
It isn't a glorified answer phone. There are people on the end of that. Yesterday afternoon, all calls were being answered straight away. There might be times of peak demand. It was open through the night. We took another 138 calls during the night until 8 o'clock this morning.
Do you have enough specially trained liaison officers to look after all of these families?
So you mean from a family liaison perspective? Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So within the MPS, we're a large organisation. We have a significant number of specially trained officers who are there to support families, who we call family liaison officers. We have a number that are already deployed and working with families that we believe may be bereaved and have lost their loved ones. And we will continue to do that, not just for those that are lost loved ones, for those that are also critically injured in hospital.
Thank you. We'll leave it there. Thank you very
much.
Thank you.
Well, that press conference by London Fire Commissioner Danny Cotton and Commander Stuart Cundy, just updating the number of people who are confirmed to have died in that horrific fire at Grenfell Tower. The number's risen from 12 to 17, but both stressing that that number could rise considerably. Also, it's clear that even though the building is structurally safe, it has been impossible for fire crews and forensic teams to get into about half of it higher up. For that reason, Danny Cotton was saying they were sending in specialist urban search and rescue dogs who could tackle sort of the less stable part of that building before human teams were able to get in as well. It seems that this investigation could take weeks. Half the building not accessible, as she was saying, and it means that the actual waiting time for people still wanting to find out where their family, where their friends, their relations are, if they've survived in hospital. It could be several more days of an agonising wait for them. Both officers, though, Stuart Cundy, the commander, and Danny Cotton, saying that they understood how traumatic this was for people, but urged their forbearance as well as they carried out this investigation. Also confirmed that a senior detective, Matt Bonner, had been appointed to lead the investigation into the fire. That investigation formally started yesterday. Details as well, Danny Cotton saying that they've been on the floor where they believe the fire started. Now, she wouldn't confirm that that was the 4th floor, but several people who escaped this fire have said that they've been told by the actual inhabitants of the flat on the 4th floor that they believe the fire started when a fridge or a freezer exploded, causing that fire to start and spread like a torch through that building within about 15 minutes. So the number of dead confirmed at 17 now, but that number expected to rise considerably. Stuart Cundy, the commander, didn't want to go into any speculation about the number of people still missing. He said that, for example, there'd been 46 calls or 46 reports of a missing person already, which slightly complicated the matter. He did say, though, that overnight the special hotline that had been set up for friends and relatives of the people still missing, just overnight, had received 138 calls. It does really look as if this Grenfell tower block fire could be one of the worst fires, not only in London, but in Britain in several decades. One thinks back to, I think in the early 90s, the King's Cross tube fire, when scores of people lost their lives here. But here in West London, dozens, scores of people potentially have been killed in this, the most horrific fire which devoured this building in the space of just some 15 minutes.